34, Bucks 24. Rams take a commanding lead in the race for the number 1 overall seed. Huge game, man. It was early season. Tony, not Romo. It was Aikman and Buck talking about, like, when was the last time Matthew Stafford had this type of spotlight on him in a week 3 type of game? Maybe never. Just really impressive all-around win by the Bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, by the Rams.
Troy Aikman, 54 years old, whose career overlapped with Tom Brady, who's still playing and, looking like a
You were sending me those, like, degrees of separation.
Well, that one just occurred to me that, like, during the game, hey, Troy Aikman's been in the booth forever. Like, his career actually crossed over with Tom Brady's. And then it was like, what's the most ridiculous career crossover I can create? And it was like, Jerry Rice drafted in 85. His career overlapped with, Aaron Rodgers or whatever. So this was the test for the Rams. This was their first test, right? This week was the version of Denver's next week, which is the real schedule starts now.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay comes to town. They were the favorites, having started off as an underdog. They're the team that level sets what looked like the best team in the NFL, the Super Bowl champions. Now let's see if this Matthew Stafford and the Rams thing still functions against a real defense, against Tom Brady that's going to be putting up points with that offense. And it did. It held up. And Deshaun Jackson, this was the game where he had been a non-factor for most of the season so far, and then was just running free behind the Tampa Bay defense like all game. And okay, they only hit him on one of those, but like he had 3 opportunities where he could have had like a bomb touchdown on each one. And the Rams look good. Their defense looked nasty. And okay, Tampa Bay were missing some players and got banged up in the secondary, which is starting to look like a bit of a worry. But this was, I think, it gets used like this term all the time, but I think this was a genuine statement win from the Rams.
Yeah, so Stafford finishes 27 of 38 for 343, 9 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns. Like you said, Deshaun Jackson was behind the defense 3 different times. Ends up with the 175-yarder. That was impressive. What the Rams did here, they were up 14-7 at the half. They get up 21-7. Bucks come back. So there was a bit of a back and forth. But just like I mentioned with the Saints, they had that like answer of a drive. The Rams kept having answers of drives because, it's Brady and the Bucks and all those playmakers, even without Antonio Brown. There's always, the Bucks can just, they can come back, right? They could score a lot of points.
Yeah.
But the Rams did a really nice job of answering. And I want to talk about their defense first because the Bucks team is predicated on throwing the ball down the field. Tom Brady's average depth of target in this one, only 6.7. That is what the Rams defense does. And the Bucks decided to attack them with underneath stuff, which isn't really their game. They want to create big plays. The Rams take that stuff away. Now, Brady overall played a pretty clean game, missed a few throws, didn't really put the ball in harm's way. They got away from the run game.
Yeah.
But this game was won and lost on third down, where the Rams continued to convert, and then the Bucks did not convert. The Rams defense did a really nice job on third down and got some pressure. That's where this game was won and lost. And then I also credit the Rams on the other side of the ball when you mentioned Jamel Dean goes down and D. Delaney comes in. He's got no NFL experience, and the Rams were attacking. They were attacking everybody.
Yeah,
but the Bucks secondary just looked overmatched against a great group of Rams receivers and tight ends.
But what I really liked about the way they exploited that was they didn't just say, so you see Rodgers do this all the time, right? A guy goes down in the secondary, a backup comes in, and Rodgers is just going Rodgers just hitting that guy in man coverage, right? Because he's the new dude in. We're going to see if he's okay, and we're just going to target him. What the Rams did was when the Bucks when they got deeper into the depth chart and Jamel Dean goes down, new guys come in, is they go, okay, we're not going to see if D. Delaney is good. What we're going to do is see if your communication works with a new dude in there. So we're going to run stacked formations, and we're going to run crossing routes, with the releases of the receivers, and we're going to see if your assignments still function when the backup comes in. Because the starters have that stuff down most of the time, right? They understand the rules of what depth you need to be at and who's going to take who when they release from the stack formation, and everything functions, right? Now the backup comes in. Did that guy get those reps? Does he understand what the assignments are when you start crossing receivers and everybody goes off in different directions? And the answer was no. So wide open touchdown to Cooper Kupp. That, I think, was a really smart way of attacking those things. They started screwing with the Bucks coverages and their rules and seeing if their backups understood the assignments the way the starters do.
Yeah, because if you are the Bucks and you're like, all right, we're depleted in the secondary, let's protect these guys. Let's play a little bit more zone, which is generally safer to protect corners. But to your point, you've got to switch. When you play zone, you do have to understand the game a little bit more, right? You do have to have it repped out. You do have to understand your defense and what you're going to do and everything.
And it's more relevant to like how much practice time that guy has had. Like ultimately,
right.
Everybody in the NFL can cover to some degree. They're not in the league if they can't go one-on-one with a wide receiver and do a reasonable job most of the time. Now, they're going to be worse than the starters, but it's not like that guy is a walking train wreck. But if he hasn't been getting any kind of starters reps in practice during the week, he might not be as clued in on the mental side of things and where, what all those assignments are and the immediate adjustments that needed to be made and that all the starters have down because they've had the practice time on. So I think that was a really smart way of attacking it, and it worked.
I mentioned earlier, Tom Brady, the leading rusher, 3 carries for 14 yards, including a QB sneak for a touchdown. The Bucs just completely abandoned the run. So once again, the Rams do a really nice job of inviting you to run, which should lead to 4 or 5 yards per carry, right? But Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette could not get anything going. The Rams were inviting the run. It was not effective. They did a great job up front. So the Bucs completely abandoned it. So Brady ends up going 41 for 55 for 432, gets sacked a few times. But again, the Rams are forcing you to make play after play after play in the pass game. And everything's a tight window throw for the most part. But it came down to third down, miss here, miss there, fourth down miss where Brady overthrows Gio Bernard. Every time the Bucs had a chance to make a comeback, the Rams end up getting the big stop. So their defense is legit.
Yeah.
Once again this year.
And they were forcing the Bucs to just, be consistent and make plays after play after play after play. And they kind of, they didn't, obviously, because they only scored 24 points and weren't able to keep pace. But they did enough that if their defense had held up its end of the bargain, they would have been okay. And that was the concerning part if you're the Bucs. Okay, the injuries you can sort of dismiss and say, we're down, we're depleted in the secondary. The Rams exploited that. That won't be an issue later in the season, we hope. But the defensive line got dominated. Like, they are supposed to be able to get pressure across the board. That front four wrecking opposing offenses.
The Bucs defensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Rams offensive line won that battle. They kept Matthew Stafford clean all game long. Tampa Bay's defensive line barely got any pressure whatsoever, and they couldn't. That was enough. Like, the Rams just had it easier on offense. It was also interesting because when they abandoned the run, no Lenny, no Ronald Jones, it became a Gio Bernard game, who didn't get a single carry but had 10 targets. Yeah. And this was like, we were wondering if they still had this. Does Gio become the third down back where if they get in a game like this, it just becomes the Gio show? And it did. Now, okay, it wasn't particularly productive, like 51 yards out of those 9 catches. But I think that's a useful thing, knowing that if they get in a game like this in the playoffs, they have a running back that they're prepared to throw the ball at 10 times. If that was happening to Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette, you would say this is a rough situation to be in.
You could tell early on that was the Bucs' game plan. They were going to get the ball to backs. They were going to get it to tight ends. Until the second half, they opened it up a little bit and threw the ball down the field. But again, the Rams, they're just so fundamentally sound defensively, taking away the deep stuff, but they were breaking on the underneath stuff and limiting yards after the catch and everything. So credit the Rams defense. The offense had answers for everything the Bucs threw at them. We will debate this week on the PFF Daily if the Rams are the best team in the NFL or in the NFC. We will debate. Okay, so keep an eye on that on the daily. But as of right now, look at the Rams. 3-0. Cardinals are 3-0.